Alrighty, welcome to Something About Tabletop. My name is Masterblah, and this is going to be our episode on D20. With me today is the enigmatic Hobo.
Yes, I'm back, bitches, or gentlemen, or ladies, or whatever you want to call yourselves, but I am back.
And today we have a special guest under the name of Denzil. Introduce yourself, Denzil.
Hey, I'm Denzil. I've been playing a multitude of role-playing games in my lifetime, starting with D&D 3.5.
Which we'll be talking about today. Also, Denzil is actually part of the Bench Lieutenant of our local Pathfinder Society here in South Australia. So hooray for Denzil.
Yay.
Yay.
Congratulations on your accolades, good night.
So, this is going to be something dear to us, because I think all of us started with 3.5?
Yeah, I started with 3.5.
You started with 3.5?
Indeed I did.
We all started with 3.5, which, I mean, is actually fairly normal for most role players that have been doing it more than... Well, we've been doing it for a while. I mean, you've been doing it the longest.
Yeah.
But we got more serious than you initially, I think. But you've done LARPing, so maybe you got more serious.
Ooh, there's some tough words there, laugh boy.
Want to take this outside?
But
I'll get the foam songs.
I'll laugh you to death.
I'll laugh the shit out of you. Fireball beanbag.
Anyway, so... Mind you, it was World of Darkness LARP, not D20 LARP.
Oh, okay. Crawling in my skin, these wounds they will not heal.
But we're not talking about World of
Why
Darkness.
does everybody think World of Darkness, have to be Linkin Park or something?
Yeah,
Because that's how most people play it.
Okay, so we're not actually talking about World of Darkness LARPing, we're talking about D20. So specifically, the systems we'll be sticking with, as there's a lot of other D20 systems, 3.5, 4th edition, Pathfinder, and the newest one, 5th, which I'm pretty sure we're all pretty impressed with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Denzel's had to look over it a bit, but,
He's played.
okay, more than me
Okay,
then.
yeah.
played.
He's
God,
played
now I feel like
Dawn
being an
Online.
idiot. Damn it, man.
Man, Dragonborn Paladin, man.
Screw you, get out of here. I don't want to talk to any chicken man.
Yep.
Reptilial.
So, first we'll start with 3.5. I think we've already told our little bit of a story of how we started. Basically, Declan and I were doing an online campaign in an old clan that we used to, and then we pretty much decided to get serious with it and play it in real life. I DM'd. I was pretty much didn't read up any rules much apart from how to make a character and kind of just winged it. It was still entertaining, and we slowly learned how to play the game properly throughout as we played until eventually we started playing it properly, stopped playing it, tried out some other ones, and yeah, like 4th edition. Stop playing that, moved to Pathfinder. So how'd you get into 3.5, Denzil?
Well, where I actually really got into 3.5 was from a video game, Neverwinter Nights, the original Neverwinter Nights.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
So, at the time I was also doing a bit of wargaming, 40k, and a few of my mates were playing 3.5, and I was telling them how I was really enjoying Neverwinter Nights, and they invited me along.
I need to know, what race did you play in 40k? I need to know how much scum I'm dealing with.
Dark Elder.
Oh, get out of my sight, Phil.
Plays World of Darkness, plays Dark Elder, even though I have a Dark Elder army as well.
Yeah, I know, and you're filth as well.
I am filth.
I was like the original Dark Elder.
Yeah, this is original Dark Elder, not new Dark Elder.
This is original.
Old Dark Elder. You know when it was bad?
Oh.
Yeah.
First army, haven't left them.
Yeah, no, let's leave it that way.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty similar how, actually, because I started playing 40k, which I got into through a video game, and then it wasn't that much further to play, yeah, because I remember we actually started doing, roleplay 40k. We would pick characters, and we would just play, leaders against waves of enemies that people would set up, because we were bored.
Yeah. Sounds like us.
Yeah, that's, I don't think you did that, but I remember I did that with, I actually think I did it with Scott and a few other people.
Well, one of the ones we did, we actually played in, I think it was the Chaos Wastelands as evil in an evil campaign.
No.
And we were actually members of different races. So I was a Dark Elf, Corsair. One of my other mates was a Marauder of Slanesh, and yeah, that's how we actually, one of the games we actually played in the fantasy world, using D&D rules.
The fancy world. Oh,
Yeah.
Go back to your craft world, knife ears.
Anyway, something that's across all D20 editions, which we'll start talking about now, is a big part of, obviously, rolling the D20. If you don't know what a D20 is, which I'm assuming most of you will, it's a 20-sided dice. So, pretty much, it's 1 to 20, you roll it, and then you add your pluses, which early levels can be up to like a +6, +7, usually around a +4 if you're decent at it. If you're not good at it, probably +0. And later game, to like when you hit level 20, all the way to +100 if you try hard enough, but usually around +30 if you're good at it. But, I mean, if you push the rules, you can get stupidly high.
Or your DM doesn't know when to stop putting decks of many things in the campaign and you begin to cheat the rules.
Yes, there's always a... yeah, my bad.
Yeah, you're bad.
Mm-hmm. So, pretty much, I think, at least I know Hobo and I have a pretty big stiff with the D20, as you probably have heard through the Shadowrun episode, the last Shadowrun episode. It's too random.
Yeah, too much chance.
It's way too random. It's so swingy, because your character that you've just made, level 1, say you get a +5, you can either get a 6 all the way to a 26. And say if you have a DC of 15, you have about a roundabout, 55% chance of succeeding. So that's not much if you think about it. If I'm going to do an action that's an average thing for my character to do, and I'm going to succeed about 55% of the time, that's a bit stupid.
Yeah. I had a lot of issues with that, especially with like AC. When like even at early level, your plus to hit is maybe like if you go to +4 on something, usually it's about 5, and the AC of standard enemies is usually about anywhere from 14 to 16. That's still a decent failure chance.
Yeah, 50% failure chance for someone who's meant to be good at something seems a little bit silly, and as the game goes up, it only ramps up even more. What about you, Denzil? How do you think about the D20?
Look, I have to agree with the randomization of it, but on the other side, I mean, the enemies are still underneath the same constraints as you. Whereas, I mean, the guy could have a +10 to something. Yeah, he still rolls like 3 nat ones in a row. He's still not going to hit you.
But the problem is though, when it swings in the other way. And I guess it's kind of fun and exciting to have that swinginess to the whole game, but it can really ruin immersion when your character does something freaking awesome, like you just made a good, awesome speech, you run in to kill that final boss, and you roll that 1, and as you're charging, you slam that greatsword into your own chest and die, because you rolled a 1.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, it does add that as a definite downside to it.
Yeah.
But obviously, well, it's just the other way around, where this is meant to be an easy encounter because this is the first encounter of a dungeon. It's just a bunch of zombies. Oh, hey, look, half the party's down and dying.
Yeah.
Because the zombies all crit and you guys rolled poorly.
That's where the GM needs to be able to go.
Fluff dice rolls.
Well, yeah, fluff dice rolls, or change the tactics so it's no longer optimal for the zombies and stuff to be hitting you. So zombies, may flail around a bit, or just kind of dumb and stand there, or do something that's not normal for.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the swings can be very rapid and violent.
Oh yeah, it can be.
Were you in that campaign where a guy with a crossbow wiped everyone over?
Yes, I think I probably was.
Yeah, I did a campaign. They were all level 6, and the enemies, it was basically part of party versus party, and it was kind of meant to be hard. But one of the enemy party was basically a guy with a fully reloading crossbow, self-reloading crossbow. And in his turn, I think he had 3 attacks. He took down multiple people. And every single round, he was just critting. And the thing was, is at the time I didn't have a GM screen, and I was rolling it in front of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just rolling 19, 20, 19, 20. And at the time, we were using the rules that if you get a 20 when you confirm on the confirmation, you crit again, and you roll again.
Exploding dice.
Exploding criticals. Yeah. Which, by the way, don't do that anymore because of that.
No.
It's really bad.
Especially now that, I know later on, especially in Pathfinder, we have a lot of, ×3, ×4.
That was the same.
Yeah, ×3, ×4.
3.5, sorry.
Well, 3.5 also was easy to get improved critical. It was so much easier than Pathfinder.
Yeah.
One of the DMs I ran with actually ended up having to change the rules because of all the criticals happening, so that massive damage threshold only applied for the players. So when the players were causing massive damage threshold on the enemies, because there were too many cases of the boss would crit, or a strong creature would crit, and massive damage threshold would come into effect, and and this creature was critting a lot on many opponents, and it kind of, there would have been a lot more wipes. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, with I know with Pathfinder Society we don't actually have the
Exploding crits.
Exploding crits or the damage thresholds. We also don't even have the critical fails as well.
Damage threshold is a part of Pathfinder, isn't it? I thought that'd be in Pathfinder Society.
I thought it was an optional rule in Pathfinder. It's not. It actually states that it's not part of it.
Okay.
That's
So
good.
you can't die from like taking X amount of damage.
It's 50 damage plus something by 10. I can't remember.
Yeah, but there's a number of ways to die, like Phantasmal Killer and Save or Die.
Yeah.
There's too many of those.
Yeah. And that also just shows the swinginess of the D20.
That's kind of why I fear it, because I feel like there's a lot of things with, like, Save or Dies where you can't, like, I don't want to rely on just on random chance to...
Yeah.
Whether I die or not. That, like, really sucks when that happens.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's why Resurrection exists in the game.
Yeah, obviously. Also, I'd say the damage dice are fine, which is D8s, D12s, D4s, D6s, D10s. I think that's all the damage? Yeah. That stuff's fine.
Unless you're someone who's unarmed and doesn't have unarmed and they're doing 1d3.
And D2 and D1. Those are less common. I think they're fine. The only dice is when it starts to get really big, like D12. D12 is too swingy. Like, as a DM, pretty much I don't throw... Like, you'd say, technically, under the rules, a level 1 warrior fighter against a party is actually quite easy for them. I think it's a challenge rating a quarter or a half. I think it actually may be a quarter, because you minus the challenge rating by 2. Okay. So after one hit dice monster is challenge rating half. So say as a GM, this is a way to really cheese the rules. I give them all greatswords.
Oh god.
Yeah, if you give them all greatswords, they may only have a +3 to hit, but when they hit, they're doing 2d6 plus 1 damage. That's swingy enough to wipe out people level 1 very, very, very easily and give up minimal experience. And I just don't use greatswords for a while. Like, at the start of the game, I think I only used short swords for a while. When bandits and stuff come into it. Or wolves. Wolves are good because it's just d6.
Spears they can be pretty swingy as well.
The 3 times critical is a problem.
Yeah.
Just 3 times crit weapons is scary. Like, I forget that about bow and arrows and stuff. It's just like, I crit. Shit.
Or even in Pathfinder, it's just guns. Like, if you crit with a gun in Pathfinder, it's game over, man.
And it's why I'm not a big fan of gunslingers as a class. It's just too cheap.
Yeah, I do like gunslingers, but I do feel there's...
Don't get me wrong, I like the concept of it, just the mechanics of it isn't my style, especially the fact that you're hitting on touch and you're doing...
Only within the first increment, though. But then, if you have a rifle, that can be really large.
You've got deeds and grit and stuff to change that, plus trunks and stuff that can help.
Yeah, but that's also kind of like the bow sniper from 3.5, where you can get crit damage from a really long, far away place.
Yep. How about we now change this up and we also talk about the skill systems, which is pretty much the same in both Pathfinder and 3.5. They changed it in 4th and 5th. I remember I didn't like the 4th, but 5th is pretty good. It's an interesting one, because if you... The skills in it, you roll a d20, once again, very, very, very swingy. So, if a wizard nat 1's on something like, what is a dragon? It gets a little stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it works fine. I mean, skills is something we have a wider range, but they can also take a 10, which is good. I do like the ability of just taking a 10, and most of the time I will do it. It speeds up the game and both reduces randomness, which is something I like to be able to do.
Oh, yeah.
Like in Shadowrun, you can even reduce the randomness if you want to, taking forwards.
If you have a large enough pool and it's a simple enough task, there's no point.
So if you have 12 die, basically you divide your pool by 4. And that's how many hits you get. So if you've got 12 dice, you get 3 hits, which is quite good, actually. 3 hits is awesome. That's
an average or high level skill check, isn't it?
Yeah. The butter, like the really nice spot, is when you have 16 dice in Shadowrun.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get 4 hits, and that's going to generally succeed against anything.
Just saves time, like if you have to do simple things like pick locks or anything like that. Anything mundane.
Yeah, and taking 20s and stuff I abuse every single time I can. Because nothing more annoys me than when everyone's in dungeon, it's just like, okay, time to search for loot. Just say take a 20. Because it literally does not take a difference, because it's a 1 minute. Unless you're on a time frame, just take a 20. Say your highest, because the DM, technically basically taking a 20 in the systems, you can only do it when you're not going to get hurt. Simple as that. Take a 10 means there's a possible when you fail, you get hurt, but you're not in combat, so you can take a 10. Like, you can't take a 10 on climb checks when in combat. You have to roll.
Is the dungeon burning? No, then I take a 20.
Yeah, basically. What are your views on taking 10s and 20s on skill checks, Denzil?
I think it speeds up the game a
Yeah.
lot, which is the big plus for me in that respect.
Especially in PFS.
Oh, in PFS, especially because it's time constraints. Like, I do like the good rolls because you get the roleplay out of it of, you know, if the person succeeds epically or fails, can be a bit of fun. You know, there's always the part, like, you try and pick an orc, rolling that one, he pulls his pants down.
Yeah.
Good job.
if you're on the internet, you might see some of these memes come up every now and then.
Yeah, that's also another thing, once again, with the swinginess of the D20 is critical nat 1s and critical 20s. While they can be fun, I find they can be really awesome and really set the mood and, like, great for laughs, but they can ruin characters, kill people, they can just do some dirty things. Like, the nat 1 is just... Some DMs take it too far. I'll admit I did take it too far when I first started DMing, but obviously now I just don't bother with it because it just ruins the atmosphere sometimes. I'll say, usually my NPCs, when they're fighting, if they nat 1, I make them fail horribly. But PCs, I generally don't bother because I can end up killing them pretty easily if I don't. What is your view, Hobo, on the critical 1s and 20s?
Critical 1s and 20s are a bit of a strange point. I do kind of like that there is a sort of failure point for these sort of criticals, but
Yeah.
there comes to a point where you have DMs and you have this notion, especially among a lot of players now for whatever reason, where they seem to think that natural 20s are the be-all, end-all of I succeed no matter what, and that's kind of an issue because it's not an automatic. It doesn't guarantee an automatic success in some cases, I feel.
I feel that I think the automatic success is okay, but it's when DMs apply another bonus to it that sometimes it can be biased towards either the NPCs, the PCs themselves, about what's happening on the battlefield or in skills, and yeah, that can just cause problems. But the automatic success and failure is fine, I feel. Only in combat, mainly. Skills, I'm pretty sure, at least in Pathfinder, it's not an automatic success if you get a 20.
Yeah, I just know so many people that...
Not for skills.
Not for skills, no.
Yeah, I just feel like so many people still treat it that way because that's
Yeah.
how they don't see... Because I feel like there are so many people who apply it outside of combat to skills when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And with the natural ones, especially if you're trained, like if you have a decent amount of ranks in the subject, it feels really dumb sometimes when your character just seems to lose all his mental faculties.
Yeah, especially since I've had alchemists that have plus 14 to knowledge skills. Oh, nat 1, 15. Anyway, go on.
Well, one of the things is also the nat 20 to pass on all skills. Say something has plus 25 to its stealth, and you get a perception, you get a nat 20, and the best you can get is 22. Whereas, you know, if it's hiding, it's like maybe got 40 because of the natural terrain or whatever. Just because you're rolling at 20, you've got 22. There's this huge difference of 20 there. You shouldn't be able to automatically see it. It's definitely up to GM discretion.
Yeah, I remember this happens to me all the time. Any single time I run like a famous creature from mythology, aka pulling from the actual book, because I usually improv half of my monsters when I DM. Every single time you were like, this creature's got such good stealth, or they've ever seen ninjas and they're really stealthy, and I'm just like, I'm gonna roll! Whee! 2! And everyone got a over 25 for their perceptions, because they rolled 18 and up. Wow. All these super stealthy ninjas that I just created can do nothing.
What good ninjas!
Yep.
They're the ninja flunkies. They got rid of ninja schools.
Yeah, and it happens to me all the time. It's like Tyrannosaurus Rexes are known for being able to gulp up adventurers in a single gulp. Roll my attack roll. 1. Okay. 2. Oh, I actually hit. Okay, roll to grapple. 1. Yep. Passed it.
And then you get the druids in the party, and he has the control animal skill, was it?
Oh, hold animal. I remember that actually happened in the session once. Someone as a druid actually took hold animal, and then we happened to verse a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Then Tyrannosaurus Rex went down.
It ended pretty quickly.
Yep.
Just like the Slumber Witch.
Oh,
That's something different.
slum witches are just dirty.
That's a Pathfinder thing.
We'll get
way
to
too
that.
dirty,
later.
man.
We'll get to that sometime. I think that's enough for skills. I think this is one that is in every single one. I don't think they've ever changed this. I'm not sure about second edition, but the stats.
Stats for me, 4th ed was just, I don't like it. The fact that you could get away with dumping 3 of your stats and pumping 3 of them and still come out with decent will, con, and reflex saves. Well, really, what?
What are you dumping? It's just like, if you're a combat character, you dumping all your mental stats, because then all I imagine then is a completely non-functioning individual who's just like, I hit it with my sword, and I block it with my shield, and I am extremely dexterous. You cannot hit me.
Let's talk about actually what the stats are for people that don't know. So there's strength, dex, con, int, wisdom, charisma. And I'm pretty sure that's the order that they come up on the sheets and always have. And I'm thinking always will.
Yeah.
It's an intrinsic part of D20, especially 3.5 base D20, because, well, big reason it kept on coming up is because the open gaming license that was with 3.5, so anyone could copy it. And so they did. So, yeah, so let's just do a rundown of the stats, what they basically give in game. So strength, guess what that does? Lifting, punching, all that kind of stuff. Accuracy with melee weapons.
How much you can carry.
How much you can carry.
When you actually get down to carry... we didn't do carry weight. I don't think we ever really do carry weight.
I only do carry weight if you guys are carrying too much.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, for the longest period of time, we didn't do carry weight. And so when I actually got into a campaign where I had to do carry weight, I was like... Because the first time it didn't matter because I was playing a fighter, so I had lots of strength. But the second time when I played a rogue, I was like, oh god, I can't carry anything! I have no ability, I'm like a frail grandma!
Basically what I did, I just didn't care about carry weight because it was hard to bookkeep, basically. But I would just know as a DM, we're going to actually check your carry rate because you're trying to carry 3 greatswords and another armor. You're an idiot. People can't do that.
It's when things start to get absurd, like you said, when it's like, I'm going to shoulder on these 3 greatswords. Well, I hope you're a fighter and your strength is 20, because otherwise you ain't going nowhere.
Then there's Dex, aka the Master Stat. This stat applies to lots of different things and is usually seen on Mary Sue type super dexterous characters. Yeah. It denotes accuracy with finesse-based weapons when you have a feat, or in 5th you just... finesse-based weapons, full stop. Ranged weapons, dodging things, reflex saves, most of the good skills Dex is appointed to.
Escape artists.
That's one of the skills that come up now and again. It's basically, you want a high Dex. This is a stat that you never want to dump in character creation. It's just a bad idea. And initiative. So also how fast you are. It's such a powerful stat. But at the same time, if you have a guy with just 20 Dex, you have to have feats to back you up or something, or you're going to have a bad character. Yeah, which I see all the time. People going, my rogue is 8 strength, 20 dex, I'm a halfling, I have a plus 1,000,000 to hit, I have weapon finesse. 1d3 points of damage minus 1. Yeah, it's fine. Deal with it, nerd. Yeah, 2 damage, look at that monster, it's scratched.
And then they decide to instead go with crossbow and then get the int damage as well.
No.
They just boosted their int and dex and they have no strength.
I mean, that kind of stuff only worked because we used to roll 4d6, re-roll ones, take highest. Yeah. That's the most craziest way you can roll stats.
It is, but you've still seen the stats I've managed to roll with that.
Bad ones.
I should be disbowed.
You're bad at rolling d6s.
I'm bad at rolling d6s. It's really sad.
And you like Shadowrun.
Yeah, I know. Weird, eh?
You roll a cane Shadowrun, though.
Sometimes.
You're really bad at 40k with rolling dice.
That's why I'm so paranoid with Shadowrun with why I hoard dice, because I don't ever want to have that, because the lower amount of dice I have, I'm like, I'm going to fuck this up. This is going to be the D6 rolling for stats all over again. I need 30 dice.
Alright, you got anything to say on Dex level?
It is a master stat, really.
Yeah, it's good.
Although I do make characters with 10 Dex.
A lot. All the time.
Well, if you're going heavily armoured, it's
paladins, it's like... Generally you want 12, though. I think 12 is just about the lowest I'm willing to go, because you can wield wear full plate and get that bonus, so in Pathfinder you can have 20 AC.
What's the thing? You can get mithril full plate, and you can get that... You can get that one use out of that dex, and it still does give something, at least to your reflex.
Mithril full plate with fighter... you at level 3 you can actually give it a +4 dexterity bonus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's another story.
And still move at 30 feet out of memory because of armor training.
Yes, and that counts as medium.
Yeah.
So you actually you count as in basically light armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
It's
at level
ridiculous.
3. Mind you, you're not gonna have Mithril 4 play level 3 because it costs so much money in 3.5.
Well, of course not. That's some expensive stuff. And then of course, can't you also apply like agile to it as well?
Yeah, if you have the money.
That's a lot of money.
That's like your fighter endgame if you're wearing full plate. It's like mithril agile full plate. That's what you're looking for. Nothing else.
And then there's Constitution.
Do not dump this stat.
Yeah, Constitution is your health.
I dump it all the time.
8.
Usually I have to dump down to 8.
12 is usually the lowest I'll go with this stat as well.
I will usually put 10 in it most of the time. I care way too much. I'm a skills horse, so usually if I can get a little bit more skills, I'll do it rather than getting that little bit more health.
It's so useful though.
I know it's useful, but I love skills way too much to give them up.
The thing is with Constitution, I see it dump because it doesn't do anything in terms of skills. It's not intrinsically locked in with many class abilities, apart from fringe classes in 3.5. In friggin' 4th edition, you hit with your con, even with some classes.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, is unfathomably stupid.
Ooh,
I hit you with my health.
Check out how ripped I am in my muscles and my constitution. I never get sick.
I hit you with my sword with my con.
But having said that, with con, the biggest thing I'd say con is the fortitude save. Now there are a lot of things out there with you fail your fortitude, it will
Kill you
straight up.
Yeah, but
Will does that too. Reflex, while it's good to have because it's very common early game, it gets so bad late game. But then the wills and the forts kick in, and you're like, shit, my 10 con.
Fort save is also one of those things though where I find more consistently most classes get their fort saves like at their top rather than others. But I mean that's because I play a very specific kind of class.
We usually play rogue, and they're bad at forts, so...
Yeah, well, I play rogue because you get, 8+ intelligence skills.
Skills are amazing.
Skills! So many skills!
And there's wisdom. Another stat, well, whether or not you should not dump this because it is intrinsically tied with the will save, just to run it off again, there are 3 saves in, all of these games. They changed it in 5th and 4th, but it's will, fortitude, and reflex, which is basically dex, con, wisdom. Wisdom is the stat that denotes how in tune with the world your character is. It's basically your street smarts, how wise you are, how high your willpower is. This one, if you dump this stat, I force people to roleplay. If you have an 8 in wisdom, your character is probably addicted to something. Your character cannot hold back on doing things.
I'm usually just absent-minded because I don't...
Absent-minded, yeah.
I don't usually let my wisdom drop way too low, but it's definitely... Yeah. Unless I'm playing a monk, which I don't like for a lot of reasons, they're way too stat intensive on all stats. But I feel like you can get away with having a lower will because most of the classes don't rely on will so heavily.
Yeah, apart from mainly casters and stuff.
Well, clerics mostly.
Yeah, mind you, with characters that do have high wisdom, they're usually not wise, and that always annoys me. The amount of times I've seen silly monks, silly clerics. Because acting silly is directly tied to your wisdom, in my opinion. Because intelligence is how learned you can be. What do you thoughts on that?
I'd say wisdom's more how well you are with common sense.
Yeah, and being silly is not common sense.
No.
Well, if it was, I'd say that the quality or the level of pranks or jokes would be higher than simple, making fart sounds with your arms, because I'm a monk.
The other thing is that wisdom it has the all-important perception.
Oh, yeah. That's why dumping this is bad. When you dump wisdom, I have will saves, and then I'm like, okay, everyone roll perception. Shit, I have a -1.
Damn it, man.
It's just oh no, because a big part of this game, you want to know what's heading towards you really bad.
You want to hope that everyone doesn't do horribly on their perception checks, which has happened several times.
Oh, all the time.
Someone's going to do bad on their perception.
No, but I mean, I've been in parties where even we all have good perception and just no one sees it coming.
Yeah,
depends on it.
Hits you like a freight train. This was 5 people.
Also, this is a pet peeve with me with wisdom as well. Wisdom, I feel willpower and wisdom should be different. Like in Shadowrun, you have intuition and willpower. That is what wisdom is, because willpower and intuition are completely different things. You can have a high willpower and not be in tune with what's going on around you.
Yeah, I feel the same way about sort of
Yeah.
Dex, though. I feel like Dex
Dex too,
should be split up into, like it is with Shadowrun, with your agility, which is your sort of manual dexterity skills, and your reaction, which is how you react. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think most of us here have much better reaction than we do with manual dexterity at all.
Yeah. Then there's intelligence. This one is sometimes a dumb stat, but the negative to skills is really bad, especially if you're like, I'm going to be like a half-orc fighter. I'm going to dump my int. Yeah, I've got... I have literally no skills.
It's not too bad if you're a human, because you get that extra skill
human's
bonus,
good, yeah.
but... I mean, maybe it's just me, because I play humans all the time,
Yeah.
but even then, I find... Even being rogue and then trying to play other classes, I just feel like I never have enough skills. Like I never have enough appropriate knowledges, or that I'm always sort of struggling to find the skills that are useful, especially when you have to dip out of your class to get stuff like perception. If it doesn't, actually, I think perception was became a standard in Pathfinder,
Nope.
but it didn't.
No, there's so many classes that don't have it.
It was worse than 3.
Paladins don't have perception as a class skill.
It was worse than 3.5 though, when your perception was 3 different skills and your stealth was 2 different skills, and that drove me nuts.
Spot, listen, and search. Yeah.
And move silent and stuff.
That was stupid. My character can move very, very silently, but I cannot hide.
I cannot hide, but look at how well I can sneak.
Haha! I am silent, but you can see me.
Plus 5
I guess that makes sense when they're larger, though. But it's just stupid, especially when you have to pay so many points to be able to... I mean, what was it, with rogues, if you wanted to do roguey things, that's 5 of your 8 plus intelligence modifier you have to use, and 3.5 at least.
It's gone.
And then there's Pathfinder, that's 2. 2 you need to worry with. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot better in terms of skills. But then again, rogues also have a lot more stuff like use magic device, disable magic device.
Yeah.
You have like way more different things you got to cover, especially with your knowledges and stuff like that, and as well as perceptions. It becomes a bit overwhelming, even if you are kind of a skill monkey rogue. And
this is another stat that people don't roleplay well enough. Because when you have an idea, doesn't mean your character does. That's an 8 intelligence half-orc barbarian, mate. You don't know shit.
My name's
I guess it goes back to your first episode on metagaming.
That's all about metagaming. And wisdom, intelligence are big metagaming problems. Also, charisma comes... I do this. Because sometimes what happens is that I may be more naturally charismatic than my actual face, but I've made a character with 8 charisma who is insane. Yeah. So I can't exactly become the party face, but I know how to talk well. So when I actually talk well and roleplay it, it just doesn't work when I roll that, yes, I rolled a 0 on my diplomacy check. I told him to fuck off. Yeah. Just add that in there.
I called him a horse shagger.
Yeah.
I banged your wife. Oh god, what did I say that for? I don't know, man, it just slipped out.
It is definitely one of the stats I see definitely dumps is charisma. Charisma is like the number one stat dumps, usually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because more characters don't need it. I mean, a bard needs it, sorcerer needs it, paladin needs it, but you can actually do archetypes of paladin that doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those stats. And also, it doesn't do heaps. And also, if you're playing a non-roleplay based campaign, it's just almost useless.
Yeah, why bother?
Like, if you're just doing a one-off dungeon crawl, my charisma's 5.
Charisma? Whee!
Whee!
The thing is, though, when it comes to me, I always try and keep charisma in a positive or minimum 10.
Keep it average.
I keep it average. Personally, I don't like having stats below 10.
Yeah, no, I like keeping all of my stats at a very nice average.
I like 5s. No, I'm kidding.
But you've circumvented your
I take
8s.
8s are about the lowest I take.
Yeah.
I don't take 7s. I hate 7s. Because you're delving to that point, because 7 is when it's delving to that point where some animals are more charismatic than you. Like, a dwarf that takes a 7 in their intelligence, a wolf is more charismatic than a dwarf with 5 charisma. A wolf is more charismatic. Yeah, seriously.
You've seen them, they're adorable.
Because they have 6 charisma. Like, most animals have 6 charisma. And then there's the dwarf in the party. I don't know what the hell he looks like, but he's probably ugly as shit.
That brings me to my pet peeve, though. I don't like how a lot of people are just like, oh, charisma just dictates how you look. It's not necessarily saying. Because, like, that wolf could look cute, yes. Maybe that's where someone with charisma comes from, but a charismatic wolf is not the sort of wolf that's trying to bite your nads off, you know what I
he's
mean?
going to try to convince you to do things.
And I'm just going to put it out there, even if a male dwarf had like 18 charisma, I doubt he's going to have long, luscious, flowing hair and full pouting lips and chiseled jawline. I don't think it works like that.
I think, but what charisma is to me is more where the diplomacy inside of things.
It's how you hold yourself.
It's pretty much, it's like how you can convince people around you.
Yeah. Are you obnoxious? Do you not talk much? Do you kind of slink back in rooms? Do you basically walk around butt naked, don't clean yourself, and you're a crazy dwarf with 5 charisma? Who knows?
Who knows? But I see so many people who who play charisma characters who have a lot of charisma, who just have no charismatic ability.
Yeah, that's a roleplay problem.
That is more roleplay. It is also the fact that people who are natural faces and have low charismatic characters and try and be the party face. Seen it done a few times.
I do it a lot.
You started circumventing that by deciding to play crazy characters instead.
It's
like, look
fun.
at my toad! You want some
candy?
Hey, I've got a crazy character as well.
Yeah. I was actually
all
going to
have
say
crazy
that character
characters.
doesn't make sense to have, like, how much wisdom she has, because she's not very wise, let's be honest.
She's crazy, but if you look at her, she tries to get insight more. Like she was.
Yeah. She actually doesn't have much intuition. She probably has a lot of willpower.
Yeah.
But no intuition.
No.
She's not there.
She isn't. Like, sometimes she comes out if I know something out of the scenario. And, like, if you take it off River from Firefly, who's got a little bit of telepathic ability.
Yeah, she's got a basically.
That's where the high rule comes in. So,
Worshipper of Lamash too, for any Pathfinder fans there, just to know what this character's like.
yeah.
I think that's all we really need to talk about.
Yeah, that's what needs to be said.
Yeah.
That's all the stats, though, really.
That's pretty much all the stats. Not much really more to say on those at all. We've got all the classes, but we're not really going to run many of those down because we're actually going to be doing an episode strictly on character creation because this is such a big topic.
Yeah, more on dedicated systems because there are just... If we were to try and cover character creation for 4th Ed, 3.5, Pathfinder, and 5th Edition, we'd be here forever. It's just way too long.
So, I guess we'll really break it down here. Like, favourite parts, like, when entering the system, least favourite parts of different systems. Like, let's start with the one that's going to get the best reaction with 4th Edition. Not my favourite at all. Really bad. Coming into it, I thought it looked cool, was a bit confused. How come I didn't have spells per day? How come I have to use spells as a fighter? Everyone's a wizard?
Yeah, mine was just like, cool, everyone feels equal, but then you play it and it's like, oh, everyone's equal.
Yeah.
This is really bland.
My AC is my intelligence. My smarts, I can dodge swords. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
My willpower is my charisma. I do believe in fairies. I do. Actually, no.
My sword will hit you. It will hit
Yeah,
you.
the bard that rolls to hit with swords with charisma with their abilities.
Let me stab you. Let me stab you. How about thee?
It didn't make sense as a over
Thematically, no.
I think what they tried to do was great, but the execution just was kind of flawed. Definitely.
And because it was so around encounters, you couldn't build a mission like you normally would.
Yeah, they also, really what I felt they tried to do was they tried to definitely bring in more, simplify it, really simplify it to the point where they could get more people in, and in doing so, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Yeah. Because a lot of people who were used to the 3.5 system just went, what am I playing?
I have actually talked to some people that got into 4th edition. What they did like was that they were able to because it told you in the book to cut out character cards of what your abilities do, people didn't, they like that. Mm-hmm. But you can do that with Pathfinder and 3.5. You can cut out all your spells. You don't need a pretty box that's already pre-cut, because I think they had like a character creator thing that you could download, and it actually
Hero
printed
Lab.
off it wasn't just Hero Lab, I think it was something that they made themselves.
I know there's webpage that you can actually generate spells and actually have cards.
Yeah, which is cool, but you can do that with Pathfinder 3.5.
There's a lot of apps as well for your phone or for your tablets that just have spell lists and books, and you can just add you can add like a list of the spells you have, so you have quick menus.
Yeah. The thing is that it was heavily marketed. Everyone saw exactly what they were trying to do, saw straight through it, and just circumvented it entirely.
I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it was aimed...
They tried something different, which is good.
Well, I think it was like... The aim they had with it was different to, say, like, what they did with Next and what they did with 3.5, in that 3.5 and Next are more for what I would call our traditional or older style gamers, but I feel like 4th definitely was more of that sort of miniatures casualized thing, and I feel like it may have done better if it hadn't been announced as the new edition.
Yeah, but how else could you market it? You couldn't. Like, I feel because the board games themselves are pretty much identical to the actual game, it's just stupid. It's just like...
It was also the time when Wizard of the Coast was actually bringing stuff back in-house rather than having a lot of stuff outsourced. Like,
yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons, because a lot of stuff was being so outsourced, and then they go, okay, let's do this ourselves, and it's kind of a learning experience from them, because they really didn't have that much.
Hey, listen, the 5th edition is a testament to that.
Yeah.
They learn from their mistakes. I'll give them...
With the intense, 2-3 year long beta?
Yeah,
so good.
It's been going on for a very long time, but I still feel that like 4th edition does what it set out to do well. It just wasn't necessarily what we as 3.5 and Pathfinder fans wanted.
Yeah, like I can definitely say, looking at it, I really like the book was set out well. You can easily just read it. I mean, the books were set out better than 3.5.
Oh, it's not hard.
The classes were cooler. The abilities were cooler, I admit, but it wasn't set out in a way that I liked. They made skills. While there was too many skills in 3.5, I think there was like 8 skills or something.
I think they were just trying to make it very safe and very
so simple, and it ruined. You couldn't. I guess you can role play, but also I just felt all the classes were the same, and they gave. This is something that I didn't really like either. They gave them. This is a controller. This is a DPS. I didn't like that.
I guess it was also, if people who thought 3.5 was too confusing and stuff, it definitely thought they were moving for them.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like they specifically went out of the way to make it too safe in that sense that there was no way that new players were going to get lost, and I feel like the reason they ended up making everything the same was maybe perhaps an intentional design choice, because while we as players who like older players of 3.5 and Pathfinder like our choice and our creativity, you have to admit a new person who comes in, the fact that that no one is held back, the fact that no one is really can outshine each other because you're all kind of the same, can appear appealing. It only is bland. It's only bland to us because we've experienced what true choice is, rather than this fake choice.
It doesn't have trap options, which is a really big problem with Pathfinder 3.5. Basically, a trap option is an option in the game that you can take that makes your character bad, or isn't as thematically good as other things that you could choose that other people are going to choose. This can either come from specialized options to just downright bad options. Like, my character doesn't wear armor, but I get a +1 AC and a +1 against fear. No, that's bad.
Not.
That's bad.
It's bad, but if people want to play that, I'm not going to...
Yeah, definitely. But sometimes, actually, in PFS, it's a problem when people bring in suboptimal characters. Because they're made for people to have fairly, not optimal characters, because I play optimal characters and I run through the adventures. But, like, playable characters. Like, when you're making characters worse than the pre-gen, you need to step back and go, why am I doing this?
Well, for some people they feel like... Because a lot of what I did with Pathfinder was I would actually handle mechanically how I made characters very different to how I handled the roleplay. Like, I would set out the roleplay, my roleplay identity, my roleplay aspect, and then I would just build mechanically a character that worked, because to do otherwise was to be really suboptimal and to usually be rather terrible at what you wanted to do.
Which is kind of what my Cleric of the Martial is. Basically, the way I play here and the way her stats read are fairly different. The fact is, if I wanted to play her as she is, she would have absolutely no wisdom whatsoever.
Yeah,
And then she would just be useless.
it's one of those times where you have to be... I think you need to sort of begin to separate your roleplay from the game mechanics, because I feel like, sadly, as much as I do love Pathfinder, and I did love 3.5 for a very long time, mechanically, it just doesn't work with, like, it doesn't mesh well necessarily with some roleplay you want. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in some senses, because there are a lot of, one of the larger arguments that gets used is the, why doesn't my water balloon fighter do as much damage as a bowman? And it's the sort of, I guess, extremity of why doesn't my...
It's a water balloon fighter!
Yeah, well, that's the point that they're usually trying to make, is that why doesn't my niche fighter perform as well as an optimized fighter? But I feel that it's kind of a weak argument in some cases, especially when a lot of organized play and a lot of modules are usually geared towards, and even the system themselves, I feel, are biased towards the optimized route.
Yeah. Apparently we were talking about 4th there, but now we're talking about Pathfinder 3.5. So we'll just go into that. So,
it covers all things, though, because like...
I agree there. I will definitely talk more into basically the merits on optimization and stuff when talking about the character creation with D20. So 3.5, I think we can definitely talk more about the positive sides on 3.5. So let's start with that, shall we? Get some positivity in this room. So the positive parts of 3.5, I can definitely say when walking into it, I think it's really like the stereotypical RPG going on.
It has that very sort of standardized.
Yeah.
What we've come to know, I think, is the tokenization of fantasy. Your standard dwarf.
It's not just the token thing.
operations.
It's that semi-weird complicatedness, but not really. When you get it, it's easy kind of feel. It's got some why are those rules there? That's how it is. It's got some problems. It's clunky in some ways, but it's got enough source material to really back it up.
At least it doesn't have dragons from space.
Yeah. Now looking back on it, 3.5 is not a very good system.
But it's the most iconic though, because...
Yeah, it's so iconic.
It's iconic, and it was the one that most of us got into. So once we picked it up, it's the one that... What 3.5 is, and it's why Pathfinder is also pretty good, is that people play 3.5, stop, they go, hey, I want to come back, and they jump into Pathfinder because rule system's very similar. It's built off the 3.5 system.
Yeah.
I think that's what I had really going for it. It was like, this is your iconic fighter, this is, your wizard, this is your rogue. You can just look at it and go, okay, so if I take rogue, I'm going to get lots of skills.
Yeah, just looking at the system, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
While say if you go into, I'm assuming Exalted, you don't really know what you're getting into when you're doing
Exalted, you really need to kind of know the backstory about the
world itself.
The world itself. So you know what the Solars get, you know what the Abyssals get, you know what the Sidereals get, etc., etc.
You do a lot more background research.
Yeah,
and
you have
to.
Pretty much. There's a lot of reading to kind of catch up with what you want to do.
Much the same as if you play World of Darkness, where it's like, oh god,
well, it's done by White Wolf, so it's a White Wolf system. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Also in 3.5, the sheer amount of source material was like a boon and a bane. I loved all the source material, but at the same time I hated all the source material.
There was so much out there.
Like the Book of Weeaboo fighting magic.
Oh, the good old Book of Weeaboo fighting magic.
I liked some of the ideas that were in there that actually got translated to 4th edition, but I felt that they weren't meant to be played side by side with fighters.
No.
It just totally makes fighters, rogues, any martial class totally redundant.
But to be fair, we feel like a lot of people still feel like 3.5 and Pathfinder suffer from this sort of caster dominance where martial classes feel rather sharp.
So bad. Like, back when I first started playing, I thought that generally martial classes were better because of the consistent amount of damage they can deal. But late game, when you're playing a wizard right, you can just rip apart an encounter. Obviously, you still need a fighter in your party, but it's the wizard that's getting everyone through, not the fighter.
The fighter's usually your damage sponge. He's the one who sits there and sort of takes the attention away.
He takes and he hits, and the wizard buffs, and the wizard controls, so he can take and he can hit. Simple as that.
He's basically the guy who stands between you and the wizard.
He's a chump.
Yeah.
He's a bodyguard and a chump.
Poor fighters.
I guess the way I see it, fighters were always very linear in how they developed. Wizard was very exponential, so really, really like default hit points.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
The D4 hit points.
in 3.5,
Oh, shivers.
Wizard versus House Cat, it's on.
Level 1 wizard with no spells versus house cat with no spells. It's
think-
on.
House Cat usually wins because it's small and has better AC.
On average, it has a higher plus to hit and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was one of the negatives of the...
that was one of the negatives.
But to be fair, wizards with spells, even at level 1, if you got sleep and they fail their save and you're only versing like one guy, the wizard can, even with such a low strength...
3.5 wizards were quite bad, though.
Yeah, but they still had, in the later levels, they still had this dominance over fighters, especially when you read a lot of these stories about time manipulation wizards. Have you ever read any of those? Where
not too much, no.
you can get, with meta magic, a ridiculous amount of time suspended, and while you can't take any violent actions, you can set up so many traps that become basically unavoidable. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely for someone that really wants to explore the game to play a wizard. I mean, that's pretty much all we can really say about 3.5. It's definitely somewhere where we came in, we learnt the systems. I was a min-maxing machine when I was playing at 3.5. Cough, psionics, cough. Go on.
Yeah, psionics.
Hey man, step off. Step off, yo.
I actually enjoy psionics as a system better than I do enjoy the spells per day system, though. I don't know why they didn't change it to mana pool. I would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
And spend more mana to make your spells better.
One of the things I've got to say I definitely loved about 3.5 was the settings, like Favor and Eberron, Dragonlance, definitely.
Dragonlance.
The base setting is called Greyhawk, too.
Yeah, Greyhawk.
Castle Greyhawk, yo.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old one.
We didn't really... I think we played Eberron.
We did Eberron for a bit, but usually...
Technically Greyhawk, but really by Greyhawk we were just using the gods in the book.
Yeah.
I was basically running my own token-esque fantasy land.
I think most people end up doing that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know it was called Greyhawk. I'm going to be honest, I only found out from 5th edition, when I was reading... I was trying to find the gods, because I thought they were still going to use the 3.5 gods, and they were called Gods of Greyhawk, and I'm like, whatever that means.
That's the thing. I only knew Greyhawk through Castle Greyhawk, which was, I believe, one of the old 2nd or 1st edition module encounters, and apparently it was really brutal. I didn't know that Greyhawk's now considered to be a larger plane or place.
Yeah, 100%.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely had,
But actually, right now, the biggest thing for me when I started getting into Pathfinder was how much I loved it immediately. Oh my! I remember you told me about Pathfinder. I thought I'd finally have a look at it. Got the PDF. I think I've already said this in an old one, but spent the whole night looking at it.
Yeah.
And we were playing.
It was such a big step up. That's why. I mean, because it fixed most of the time, it just fixed all these little gripes we had. And at the time when we got into it, while there wasn't as much content as 3.5, that was still a good thing. That
was quickly rectified, though.
It was quickly rectified, but it was still kind of good in the beginning because you couldn't necessarily... You could still min-max.
I actually kind of enjoy just playing with the core rulebook.
It's
interesting.
I like using most of it, because there are a lot of third-party splat books for it now, but even... Yeah. I still feel like there's now beginning to become the same sort of problem, except different, because 3.5's issue was there were too many prestige classes. There were way too many niche prestige classes.
Yeah.
And I feel like Pathfinder's now on that road where there are way too many niche archetypes where there really doesn't need to be the archetype, especially in some cases.
The trapped archetypes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's actually more trap options in Pathfinder than there is 3.5.
Well, I think it's just because the longer you go down the road, it becomes more difficult. Because I think what they want to do is they still want to be able to provide, because there is still some good content coming out, like in the advanced class guide, and even advanced races. There's still some good content, but I feel like a lot of this is just repackaged and padded trap options.
I like the advanced race guide because it really fleshed out a lot of races. I was completely fine with that one. Advanced class guide, there was a few trap options in it and a few trap classes, but pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, the new stuff with the Slayers and the Blood Rages.
Advanced class.
That's some good stuff. I do enjoy that. That's nice to see.
Skull.
Mind you, they made an even more powerful wizard, the Arcanist.
Yeah,
Arcanist is crazy good, by the way.
It's kind of where problems can start to kind of come in.
Really good. Funny enough, ASMRs make really good Arcanists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who would have thought?
Because there's a version of ASMR that gives +2 and +2 charisma.
Oh god.
I think that was one of the things I actually did like about Pathfinder as well, was that back in 3.5 you could have your water elf, your wood elf, your, drow, and they'd all have different stats, whereas originally what Pathfinder tried to do is they go, this is your elf, it has this, it has make this, that's it.
I don't like that.
Not necessarily. There are lots of variant options now. Like, if you go through this, there's a ton of different variant
They don't
options
change
for
the
races
stats,
there.
and I don't like that because, to be honest, a wood elf is not going to have +2 intelligence. Just saying. And I think they need to put a wood elf in the game. Because elves don't make good rangers. They're bad rangers, I'm not kidding you. +2 dex, that's all you get out of them. The +2 it's useless, -2 con is bad.
That is true.
I'm saying that they're bad rangers.
Yeah, I know, but it stopped people from trying to stat shop. Which is why I didn't like when they brought out the Blood of Fiends and Blood of Angels. It just for Asimars and Tieflings.
Everyone kind of does that, though, no matter what you do. It's just the sort of dominant strategy theory.
Yeah, dominant strategy. If you don't know what dominant strategy is, basically, if there's a strategy that's the best, everyone's going to go with it.
Yeah, it's just if the strategy is most effective if it's the most effective method for dealing with an obstacle, then you will always use it because it's just most effective. Why wouldn't you?
Or the easiest to do, whether or not it's the most effective. Whatever's easiest for you. Because dominant strategies can change with different people if they're stupid or overthink things. But yeah,
it really depends on the scenario. But again, stat shopping and optimization, especially in Pathfinder, it kind of becomes a dominant strategy because why wouldn't you want to clear or be better at what you want to do faster?
Yeah. As you can see, it seems that min-maxing is a very big problem with these systems. Actually, most systems in general, but I think it's really, really big in D20.
It is mainly because...
Getting rid of that swinginess of the dice, my friends.
Yeah, that's really what it is. The reading min-max is to maximise your chance of, even if you roll low on D20, you're still going to be able to do something.
What other parts do you like about Pathfinder, Declan?
I really like, for the most part, when it first began, I'm not so sure how much I am now, as much as I kind of did bash it with saying it's getting bloated, I really like archetypes. I really like that you got to have all these, because there are a lot of good archetypes, especially near the beginning. Like, there were some traps and some trash ones, but there are some really cool alternatives. I really like, I love Urban Barbarian. I think Urban Barbarian's really cool, and I also like the Knife Master for Rogue. They're really cool. I love them.
I remember when archetypes were first seen in 3.5, which was in the book Unearthed Arcana, possibly my favourite book in 3.5.
Oh yeah, that's a good book.
It did awesome things like make things like paladins, bards and stuff prestige classes like they were originally in 2nd edition. It also did things like you can be a martial sorcerer, you get a proficiency with 1 martial weapon, you can cast 1 less spell per day and you know 1 less spell per day. And also your hit dice went up and stuff, and just all these cool archetypes for all of the classes, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. Like the Freedom Paladin, the Chaotic Good Paladin, which is the Freedom Paladin, the Tyranny Paladin, read all this stuff. And then when I found out Advanced Player's Guide? Yeah, Advanced Player's Guide was in Pathfinder, I looked at it and went, whoa, this is Unearthed Arcana. Yeah. Whoa, I read it all.
Yeah, it's amazing, but again, there are some trap options where you just are like, I can do this without really needing to take this class, and
I get +2 against killing fish. What can you do?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I find like some of them thematically can be really cool. Like Bladebound for Magus, really cool stuff.
It's really good for roleplay, but Magus is actually. That's an interesting one, Magus. We'll definitely talk about that in our next episode.
But I do mean that, like, there are some ones, especially with fighter, a lot of the fighter archetypes, I feel like you give up really good fighter standards, and what you gain isn't fantastic, and you might as well just go a fighter and just roleplay and be thematic in that way, rather than take these archetypes that don't serve your purpose better.
There's some pretty good fighter archetypes, Koth the two-handed one and the Weapon Master.
Oh yeah, no.
They're the best ones I think.
No, but I'm saying, like, because we can talk about good ones, but there are always there are always going to be some trap ones.
What are your favourite parts of Pathfinder?
Definitely the favourite parts of Pathfinder is actually how the CMD.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Basically in 3.5, doing things other than attacks were always roll-offs. So if you wanted to grapple, trip, all that stuff, you roll off. And it was really even more swingy. But now CMD simplified it, made it easy, except for grappling.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I do love it, but except for grappling. But grappling has always kind of been a little...
Grappling has
gimped.
always been that really hard one, right? That box that even 3.5 didn't get.
Yeah.
And with CMD, it's made it easier to at least streamline that a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Like
again...
over on now, it's like CMD, that's it.
That's what I mean. I get it, and I do like it. I do think it's good, especially because I played I like playing trip fighters
exactly.
with glaives, and you know how dirty that can
Yeah.
be. But
So trip fighters, disarm as well.
disarm fighters, but again, my only issue is that I know some people who really wanted to play grapplers and sort of unarmed fighters who...
Didn't you for a while?
Yeah, I did it for a while, and you really... that was the reason why I started sort of hating it, because you get really kind of gimped. It's really difficult to deal with.
It's really weird.
I mean, I know you get gimped, but because of the whole roll-off in 3.5, all they had to do has a huge bonus than you. And
Yeah.
You were still pretty bad.
I mean, technically, by law of averages, it's no different.
Yeah.
Actually, no. You're at a better chance if you roll off.
Yeah.
But swinginess, man.
Yeah, the swings.
The swings.
I don't want no swing set. I didn't ask for
Yeah.
I
this.
mean, there's a reason why a gnome shouldn't be able to grapple or pin dragon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, characters who aren't gnomes, who do specialize in grappling, even when they go large, have way too many problems later on, and
I
monsters
think
get
it was
way too
actually
much
easier in
advantage.
3.5. Because you got more of a bonus for being large.
Yeah, I think it was a much greater
+4 or
bonus.
something.
Yeah.
And
but,
also taking the feet, you got a +4.
Yeah, but again, a lot of the CMDs are a lot higher on the creatures,
Yeah.
especially in these monster manuals, so it's really hard. And the other thing is, if they have, like, you mentioned this earlier when we were talking about grappling, monsters with rake attacks, basically you're just giving monsters free damage.
I hugged the tiger. Alright then.
It mauls you. Good
Tiger
good
hugs
job.
you back.
Hugs you back, bro!
I think pretty much all the negative parts of Pathfinder we've already covered in 3.5. It's basically the same system, which is kind of a negative part.
It is, but I feel like it does a lot.
It stands out on its own, obviously.
It does a lot right, though, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It must be really weird listening to us. We talk a lot about these negatives, but I guess it's hard to necessarily note the positives, because usually a lot of these positives are the system works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not bad. There's a lot of options and variety for all characters and, like, all choices. Some of them are trap options, but in terms of even, like, races, feats, variant options, variant combat, you have a lot of choice to work with.
Also, the other thing I was going to say that I did like about Pathfinder as opposed to 3.5 was the base classes like Paladins, Sorcerers got their own identities, as per se.
Yeah.
Sorcerer Bloodline were a huge boost to them, otherwise they'll just underpower wizards with spontaneous casting.
Everything got a boost, dude.
Yeah, the cap...
Apart from bards, but yeah, basically everything.
Well, cap abilities. Like, the capstone abilities. It was the
Like you ever get to them, let's be honest.
Hey, if you get to a bard to level 20 and get the killing
joke
and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something new. Basically, the only reason you dip into fighter was just for the extra feats every now and then and things. There was a lot of reasons to multi-class in 3.5, whereas you could choose to multi-class or you could choose to go straight
Pathfinder
to
was
20.
pushing for just going straight to 20 because of their class focus system.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some... I don't like Capstone, and I'm not so sure how ridiculous it is in Pathfinder, but the main issue I had with 3.5 was about level 10, after about level, anywhere from about level 6 to 12, if you were playing in an optimal fashion with building characters, things begin to get really crazy and out of hand really quickly, and you know that as a DM.
Oh, definitely. It happens all the time.
And so most of these campaigns I find end up ending before you even hit 20, because by level 12 you can usually kill those sorts of things.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what you do at level 20, but it's usually fighting gods.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything else.
Yeah,
what else are you going to do? I'm bored now. Let's go punch God. Which one? We have a choice? Sweet.
Yeah.
Actually, that is one book that I really, really loved that was released was Inner Sea Gods. It was an amazing book.
The God book for 3.5 was quite good as well. They actually statted the gods. That was hilarious.
But if you stat it, they can kill it, which is the only issue.
Oh, how they did it, though. They just have random rules like literally can't die. I think most of them can't die.
I like the Lunamara. Always goes first.
Always goes... Oh, but let's not talk about that. There's no point. Anyway, so finally we come to 5th. This is the newest one. Came out a month or 2 ago. It's been in beta for ages. It's changed over its time in beta. And I really like it.
It definitely seems that they've done their homework and have definitely stepped up and forth.
It's still simple. Like, it showed you can make 3.5 simple, just cut the fat. They cut the fat. They left some of the fat on for taste. And it's simpler than 4th. It's simpler than 3.5. And it's better than... Like, I haven't played it enough, but right now it's better than both. I'm even leaning towards better than Pathfinder at this point because I'm enjoying it more.
I feel as if that's because, like, you can say it's more simple than 4th, but I think that's good. And a lot of people will be like, it's more casual, but I think it's good because a lot of what has been weighing down Pathfinder and 3.5 is a lot of these systems that were built when the game first started that have evolved slowly from 1st edition, from 2nd edition, advanced, and that a lot of that they decided with this book. I feel, why do we still have some of these old conventions? They've decided to, I think, do some actual really in-depth research, and you're like, maybe we don't need these things anymore. And I like how they've turned feats into such an important and such a special feeling thing.
It's an actual feat. Like, it's a feat of, human or humanoid, whatever you're doing. Like, I'm so good with this bow. What I'm doing with it is a feat of bowmanship. Like an actual feat, not I get a +1 to hit. In the grand scope of things, a +1 to hit isn't much. But not being affected by range, being able to basically aim for the head so you get +10 damage and -5 to hit is crazy.
Yeah, I really like it. I
think all the options are cool and flavorful. It's got so much going for it. I can definitely see how they can make it worse with splat books. But they can also make it better.
There's always room for things to get overly bloated. I mean, like, for all we know, they could release another book and there could be, like, way more feats, and then it can just become mundane again and become an issue. But there's so much room for good, and it's the first time in a long time where I've sat down with a book and I've looked at all the classes, because usually I don't like playing clerics. I don't think I've played cleric since my very first character.
And he's a cleric monk.
Yes, no, that was my second character, because my first one was a paladin, and I've never wanted to play those classes again. But when I sit down and I look at these books and I read through all the different types of different things that usually you can be, like, because all the casters of all varieties, whether they're divine or arcane, have so many different choices, and I love it. I want to play almost all of them.
Yeah,
and
me too.
That has not happened in a very long time where I've been excited. Like, cleric looks amazing. Like, light cleric looks... Oh god, it's amazing, light cleric.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Denzil?
Definitely loving the 5th ed. I mean, they have definitely streamlined it a lot. I do like the system of advantages, like...
advantage disadvantage.
Yes.
That is hugely good.
So instead of having 1,000 modifiers for things when bad things happens, you either roll 2d20 and take the highest advantage, roll 2d20 and take the lowest disadvantage.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing I like in character creation, which we'll probably talk about later, is the trait system that they have. Trait backgrounds, which is
backgrounds.
Really good.
Backgrounds.
Yeah.
Traits is a part of Pathfinder.
Sorry.
We did not talk about those. They're minor, basically mini feats. To be honest, not needed.
Well, technically, when I first saw traits was back in the old, in the White Wolf system, where in some of them you could actually take traits as well.
Yeah. I think they work more effectively in White Wolf than they do in Pathfinder. Yeah. I feel like you said in Pathfinder, I feel like they're miniature feats almost.
They are mini feats, literally.
But again with this, what I like as well is that they have these backgrounds and they have these sort of traits that help you really build out and flesh out a character.
Backgrounds are half your class, man.
Yeah.
They give 2 proficiencies, extra languages, an extra ability which can be really cool. Like one of them, Outlander. Your character literally can find food for 5 people. You don't even need to roll, as long as the land can service it. Mm-hmm. A DM can go, oh, this land's really hard to service it, make a survival check. That's fine. But if you're in a nice forest where people make a living off hunting, you can do that.
Yeah,
and there's no rolls required. It cuts the fat off of the game on parts that the GM doesn't want to necessarily do.
But it does so and adds all the more flavour, because it adds more depth to your characters And so even like the progression of the world, of even with NPC creation, I feel like it gives it's helping to push this aspect of role playing. And I think
you can have any background.
Yeah, and it does it really well. And some of the backgrounds,
criminal cleric. There's a good one.
Yeah, there's some really funny. There are some funny ones in there. Like the charlatan is. Oh my god, the charlatan is such a funny read.
Yeah. So charlatan is pretty much if
you're scam artist.
Scam artist.
You're con artist.
You're a con artist. Which is interesting. I will admit, I'm not sure if that's the best background to have because there isn't many roguey backgrounds, but the ones that are usually lead them toward being utter dicks.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more dicks in 5th edition, I find.
That is true, but
more greed.
Greed is good. Greed is God. People ask me which one is it. It's neither. It's a mantra. Greed is good. Greed is God.
Can I have that as my ideal?
Yes.
Sure. And that's also the good thing. They actually put it in their first paragraph when talking about backgrounds. And actually, most things, make it up if you want.
Yeah.
Here's a way to make it up. Pick any 2 skills, pick a tool proficiency, pick a language, I think, and then take one of the special things you can get with backgrounds. Obviously, you wouldn't do this with everything, but you're like, I want to be an exile, but I'm not necessarily a hermit or an outlander. How would I do that? Maybe my character was a noble, so your character can have a feature where you've got a noble name, but that can actually be a bad thing, and you can work it out, you know? Like, I have the background knowledges of a noble, but I live in the forest because I've been exiled.
Yeah, like I said, it adds some real depth to that sort of story and roleplay aspect.
Yeah.
The other thing that was actually very interesting when I first looked at it, I mean, it took me a while to get over, was no alignments.
No alignment restrictions on classes.
Yes, on classes.
Alignment is still a thing.
Me.
I was actually been reading into this, and basically it seems that the only reason they didn't put they kept alignments in is because people like alignments. People I like alignments to be on there so your character kind of has more of an identity, but I don't like people overly typecasting themselves towards their alignment.
Well, again, you know how I feel about that, because I don't like the fact that a lot of people let their alignment dictate how they play rather than their play dictate their alignment, and I feel people get really locked into that because they, especially in the older systems where you were alignment locked because they didn't want to lose.
I'm chaotic neutral, not chaotic evil. Probably a big one that's come up a lot, but my friend, you're probably chaotic evil.
Yeah. Well, it's just more like with barbarians, because a lot of people just argue that it makes sense that you kind of have to be chaotic in nature for a barbarian, but I don't.
You can be lawful barbarian. Heaps, hell yeah, you can.
Well, I feel that it's kind of screwed up because if you look at the context of lawful anyway, lawful is only so long as you follow your own. It doesn't have to be the law of the land. You just have to follow and adhere to a certain code. So why can't barbarians that are tribal be lawful? So long as they follow tribal law or the law of nature, then they're lawful. That might not seem lawful, and it may seem savage to people who are civilized, but it's not.
Yeah, you'd be more lawful than the standard barbarian, because obviously the code, there's a point, if you're gonna have your own custom code as me as a DM, I want to know what it is first.
Oh yeah, no.
But if it's do what I want, murder people if they get in my way. That's not a code. You're chaotic evil.
You, sir, are chaotic evil and a dick.
Okay, so here's the part I'll go with, chaotic evil. Definitely with chaotic evil and definitely with lawful good. Just the way that some people play them. There's what I like to call, lawful good and lawful stupid.
No, it's lawful awful. That's how you do it.
Lawful awful, lawful stupid, and then there's chaotic crazy. Get out of my party, basically.
Chaotic random.
Chaotic random, or just random.
Yeah. Basically, you can be lawful good without imposing your will on the party.
Yeah. And people forget that. I've actually heard of people, basically, recently I was talking to a guy, and they had a paladin in their party, and what he did was he forced people to donate to a church. That's what his paladin did. That's actually not a lawful or a good thing to do. That's extortion. Yeah. That's a neutral or an evil thing to do.
I'd say lawful evil.
That's lawful evil.
Yeah.
It can be neutral in some ways because you're trying to help. Yes, he's trying to help everyone, but the reasons for his character to do it wasn't. Yeah, it's
still totalitarian in nature, where it's just donate or else sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of lawful good characters should simply be played in the sort of stands where they themselves will not necessarily take these actions, but I feel as if lawful good, especially, should not be, I must push like my laws on everyone, and that everyone must forcefully obey and abide by my standards.
The problem is the Paladin Code. That's what originally did it, but they changed how basically the Paladin Code in 3.5 second edition was really strict, and it actually said that would not allow other people to do those acts in front of them. They've changed it in 5th edition. In 5th edition, the Paladin Code changes depending on your oath, which you take at level 3, and that can be anything.
Yeah, I like how it's done here, because again, it feels like you move away from the having to force people to play by your rules, and no one likes that. Even if you're in a party with everyone who is usually anywhere from the neutral or chaotic spectrum of the good or neutral, no one likes having anyone else's will imposed upon them, whether it be for good reason or not.
The Halfling Rogue versus the Human Paladin is a tired and annoying trope.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty much all we have to say about 5th edition, I think. I mean, definitely we could do a more in-depth look into 5th edition. If people would like that, definitely leave a comment below.
Oh, actually, I do want to, just before we wrap it up, I like how, this is just back to one of the feats, or even, actually it's 2 things. I really like how you no longer have to take a feat for finesse weapons, how certain weapons are defined as finesse. I really like that.
There's a downside.
There is a downside to that.
Dex is the master stat even more than ever.
Yes, that is always a problem. And the second thing was that one of the feats I really liked was that, because a lot of people will sometimes multi-class in the older editions so they could get some magic or a little bit of magic. Whereas in this, there's a feat where you can take 2 cantrips and a level 1 spell, and that's just a feat. And I think that's really flavorful in some senses, because it shows, like, some degree of,
Actually, High Elves automatically get a Wizard cantrip.
Yep. Ah.
So that could be a High Elf fighter, right? Who knows resistance, which is, you carve a rune in front of you, and basically you don't attack, but you take half damage.
That's Bladewood.
Bladewood, sorry.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. You can do that.
Fighters can become Eldritch Knights as well.
Yeah. Actually, one of probably the best fighter is the Eldritch Knight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and High Elf Eldritch Knight actually looks like a lot of fun.
I just meant, though, that, like, if you wanted to play someone who didn't, like, you don't want to dedicate, like, a level into Wizard, you can easily take this feat, and it can become just this sort of quirky thing. Like, you can be a fighter and be like, because it's from any list out of memory that you can take these spells from.
Yes, you can.
So it can be a fighter with maybe like the cure spell and 2 cleric cantrips, and it can end up being this sort of thing where, like, especially if you're playing like
my character's blessed, but he's not a cleric.
Like just like all these, it opens so many options for characters who don't want to dedicate into going to another class. And I really like that.
All of the mundane classes have the ability at level 3 to get magic. There is no magicless class, and the ones... Yeah, I just find that's cool, because, mind you, a lot of the classes are going to be magic, but I mean, it's D&D.
So what are you saying? Are you saying everyone's a wizard?
No, because your magic is different from theirs.
I know.
Like, rogues can only get enchantment and illusion. Well, and other spells, but you mainly have to take an enchantment and illusion. Fighters can only take abjuration and invocation.
I have to... If there's one thing I can say with wholeheartedly that I've just remembered that I can't believe I forgot because I love it so much.
What?
The single thing I love most about 5th edition, that motherfucking warlocks are in the core book.
That was in 4th.
Yeah,
was it?
4th.
Really?
No, in 4th.
I don't care because
I love... 4th is shit, but 5th is good.
Because I love me some Warlock. I mean, like, everyone's just like...
I think Warlock is definitely one of those classes that everybody's like, oh my god, I always wanted to play. I mean, 3.5 though is hugely great.
Really? For the most part, like, I got told by people warlocks are just dumb blasters. They don't have the same...
Oh yeah, but it's fun.
It was fun.
That's what I mean. It was so good.
What do you want to do? I want to blast things with spells.
Remember we worked out how many times you does Eldritch Blast a day? We did that. We divided the seconds in a day by 6.
It was pretty much that. It was like...
I think we read it down in your character sheet. My character could cast Eldritch Blast like 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
It's like if you have the core rulebook, you want to blast it, you play the sorcerer. If you had the book with Warlock in it, you played a Warlock.
Oh, Warlocks I just love them, but I will say, Eldritch Spear is completely useless in this. Like, in terms of, like...
Distances, I mean, it was kind of not, because the base Eldritch Cantrip, 120, instead of 60, like it was in 3.5.
Well, yeah, oh no, in here it's like 120, and if you get Eldritch Spirit, 300, whereas it was like 250 in 3.5.
And the base was 60.
60, yeah.
And then you take the feat that allows you to get double your range on ranged cantrips, ranged spells, and it can get up to 600 feet. Yeah.
You can shoot Eldritch, but you can actually just be an artillery piece. And but even then, I feel like 300 feet is almost never going to get used unless the campaign is specifically about open
If it's
campaign.
definitely going to be a war style campaign, like, capture territories.
Oh no!
Stuff.
If it's a war style campaign, I'm taking Eldritch Eldritch Spear, and then I'm getting the one getting the feat that doubles its range, so then I can be an artillery piece and just shoot people from 600 feet away.
Alright, stop your nerdgasm.
I'm
Calm
sorry,
down
I
now.
can't.
We can talk about that in the next episode. Any other final closing thoughts on D20, guys?
Without it, I'd say that gaming would have a lot to be desired. I mean, it wouldn't be as popular as it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the core movement of what role-playing is and what
100%.
still
Defined games as we know today.
Yeah.
As much as that was good, it also had this large period of demonization, like a lot of media.
Literal
definitely-
demonization.
Yeah, literal demonization, and there was a lot of negative press on the media. I mean, I know, like, when I first tried to get into D&D, for the long, I was concerned because I was a gamer and I was, by all rights at the time, considered a nerd, and that wasn't exactly at the period of time when we were. Nerds weren't in a higher social standing as they are now, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to what was still considered at that point to be as a
really
negative,
uncool.
yeah, as a negative stigma of you're a basement dweller sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
playing it is like, why would anyone bash on this? This is awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, Will Wheaton, the tabletop, I think with their role-playing thing that they're going to be having there, because of it's going to help role-play a lot.
It will, but at the same time, I don't like Will Wheaton.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You
You don't have to like the person,
But it's going to bring a lot of people to the
Oh yeah, no. Again, I think D20 has done a lot to definitely push role-playing forwards, and I definitely think it's a fantastic gateway for people. But with that said, I do enjoy my other systems, I think, a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to go back every once in a while and just run these simple campaigns and just kick the shit out of things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, without the D20 system of D&D, we wouldn't have our Shadowruns, we wouldn't have our Exalted, we wouldn't have our Vampires, because really,
I think
it would have been really hard for them to start off. Once D&D kind of started picking up,
Yeah.
then people thought...
Shadowrun, the idea was D&D with Blade Runner, so...
Yeah.
Even though Blade Runner wasn't out when it started, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like the RPG genre owes a lot to it, but I feel like it would just, like, these things would still exist, they would just be more niche than they are now. Because you have to look at it, World of Darkness is still technically it does sell a lot, but it's still a very niche thing, as is with Shadowrun. Like, let's face it, if you went, like, if us three tried to go find a Shadowrun or World of Darkness game here without having any connections, it would be really hard for us to find a game.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to find a Pathfinder game or D&D, so easy, they're everywhere.
Exactly. I think the reason, what I'm trying to say with the D20 system is that if it wasn't for like the D20 system and that it became recognized, publishers wouldn't have taken the chance on things like Shadowrun, on things like that. It kind of brought the way of people going, okay, there's money in this, let's give it a try. They wouldn't take the risk. They would play it safe and go, no, we want to publish this, and this.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do partly agree with you. I just don't think necessarily everyone relies on on that success. A lot of these are like, because a lot of different games have died out since then.
A lot of games have died out, but they wouldn't have, like, you wouldn't find Shadowrun books as easily, like, in your local comic book stores or something, if it wasn't for, like...
No, I get it, and I will concede that the D20 definitely helped move us forwards.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily think everyone owes them the accolades.
Oh, no,
I feel like a lot of systems, especially like with Shadowrun in its 5th edition now, owe a lot to its continued support and its continued dedication to working with the community to make a better game. There are a lot of games that have kind of petered out that don't have newer editions because of that sort of thing.
But while we have said a lot of negatives on D20 system.
Oh, we still love it.
We still love. We all
There's
still love
ways to
it.
change it.
I'm assuming probably some of the guys who started the Shadowrun would have probably played Dungeon D&D, and just gone, you know what, we can make a better game.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like no matter what I do, no matter how much I play Shadowrun, there's always a period of time where I want to come back to this, and I want to just be a blasty warlock, and I don't want to have to care about making complicated plots or having to blow up corpse.
I Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, it's just like, you see that guy over there? He's getting his ass toasted. That's what's happening.
All right. So another point that I want to bring up, just something. If you don't like the D20, 2D10. Just saying.
That's always another
2D10
way.
gets rid of the swinginess. I have it run it myself. Maybe I should sometime. I'd probably enjoy it. It works. There are good things about it.
Well, I definitely feel like that does work, because if you look at what they do with the damage dice, even within these systems, they instead of having 2d12s, it's usually 4d6 instead.
Yeah.
Because it makes it a lot more consistent. There's a lot less swing. So maybe that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to try it. Let us know how it goes.
Sweet. Also, something that's going to be coming up in the near future, we are going to be doing a actual play of 5th edition. That's something that we're definitely going to be looking into doing. Definitely comment if you want that, but it's going to happen probably either way. We're probably going to have 4 to 5 players. We're going to have set up a camera, and we're going to play some D&D 5th edition. Also, comment if you want more talking, like a review on 5th edition.
Yeah.
We can definitely do a review on 5th edition. Or a review on any of these. If you want to hear a full-on review on 3.5, a full-on review of Pathfinder, comment it. We can do that. Or maybe any other D20 things that you think that we've missed. Not that we've ever played 2nd edition, 1st edition. To be honest, I don't want to go there. I've read them. Look silly. Because obviously they've gotten a lot better as they've come. Pretty much. Otherwise, our next episode is going to be on making characters in the D20 systems, specifically Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And 3.5. All right. You guys, any closing statements?
One last closing statement. If you're never new to wanting to try out, say, Pathfinder or mainly Pathfinder, Pathfinder Society is definitely a good way to go. It's very much, you can lock up, play. It's not structured as in you have to be there every week. You can miss a couple of weeks, just go sign up for a thing. But definitely look for it in your area. I highly recommend it. And it's definitely a good way to get into the actual system and see what it's like.
We'll leave a link in the section below, just with a link to Paizo with their thing on PFS.
The Society Play.
Yeah, Society Play. Anything else?
I just want to basically my closing statement is basically my end piece anyway. I hope that I haven't put anyone off with what I've said and a lot of my negative. I just like to be critical of the systems that I love. And
I actually think we've been surprisingly positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think
4th edition we ripped a new one.
Well, who hasn't ripped 4th a new one? Again, I tried to stay positive even with that, but again, it wasn't. I don't think it was designed and aimed towards players like us.
Not the way you're saying. If you play 4th, you don't know how to roleplay. You're bad. No. I've actually meeting some new people who play 4th because that's all they knew. They go, I want to play D&D. They go out to their local store. This is before Pathfinder, where Pathfinder wasn't big. They pick up that 4th edition book and go, yeah! They play it and they're like, okay, this is pretty good. And then you're like, would you like to taste some Pathfinder? And then they get hooked on that.
Yeah. It's a good entry level.
It's a really good entry.
I mean, if people like to play Pathfinder, not Pathfinder.
Oh, I do.
I love it, man. I love it so much.
Okay, we're not saying if you like 4th edition that's bad, but I'd suggest 5th edition.
Seriously, 4th edition, if you play it and you still like it, keep on going with it. If you want to play it, we're not telling you to stop.
Yeah, but basically what we're saying, we're advocating is, if you want to try something a little different, consider these sorts of things. I mean, like you said, rock up to a Pathfinder Society, give that a try. Because you don't have to really commit that much.
No,
you can go once.
If you go, if you don't like it, then fine. At least you
don't even have to make a character. Just ask for maybe when you see the thing, say, "Hey, can you bring the pregen for me?"
Yeah.
Mind you, most DMs will have a pregen on them. So yeah.
But again, my final closing statement was that I don't want anyone to not play or not try these things because we maybe ragged on it a bit.
Yeah.
We definitely think that each system is worth a try because everyone's going to like different things anyway.
Yeah.
And that it's been an absolute pleasure sitting down and spending the best part of an hour discussing with people who really know what they're talking about in terms of Pathfinder, who've probably played a hell of a lot more Pathfinder than I have, but...
Not sure about that.
You played a lot more Society play now, and I had a big period where I sort of dropped out, and I just wanted to play Shadowrun a lot, so...
I mean, that's how I strictly play Pathfinder these days.
Well, the reason I invited you to play was because you kept on GMing.
Yeah, and
sorry for you.
still do. now I'm a Pathfinder Society GM. Can't get away.
Forever GM.
Forever GM. Cry every time.
I cry
Making my
was-
characters for fun and just...
That might not be true. I might be running a nice paramilitary campaign for Shadowrun at some
Yeah,
point.
I'd definitely love to get a Shadowrun campaign going.
So
Anyway...
maybe you won't have to be forever.
Oh, forever GM. Anyway, so this is Masterblah signing out.
Signing out here, Denzil.
And as ever, the illustrious Hobo will be disappearing once more to the editing cave.